The quantum lab hummed with the familiar symphony of cooling systems and monitoring equipment as Dr. Sarah Chen adjusted the final settings on her experimental array. 3 years of research, countless grant applications, and more cups of coffee than she cared to remember had led to this moment. The particle accelerator she designed was barely larger than a microwave, a breakthrough in itself. But its potential implications for understanding quantum entanglement could revolutionize physics. Final checkpoint, she announced to the empty lab, her voice steady despite the excitement coursing through her veins. The holographic displays surrounding her workstation showed all systems nominal, each quantum field perfectly aligned. Sarah had chosen to run this first test alone. If she failed, she wanted no witnesses. If she succeeded, well, that would change everything. The device powered up with a soft whine, its core beginning to pulse with an ethereal blue light. Sarah watched the readings climb steadily, exactly as predicted by her calculations. Then, at precisely 3:47 a.m., everything went wrong. The blue light suddenly intensified, not in the controlled manner she'd expected, but in sharp, crystalline pulses that sent cascading shadows across the lab's sterile surfaces. Warning alerts flashed across her screens as energy readings spiked far beyond predicted levels. Sarah's fingers flew across the emergency shutdown controls, but the system remained active, its hum deepening to a resonant frequency that made her teeth ache. "This is impossible," she muttered, watching as the energy readings continued to climb. The containment field shortened. The air itself seemed to fold. There was no other way to describe it. Reality curved inward like a piece of paper being creased, and in that fold, something emerged. At first, Sarah thought it was merely light, but as her eyes adjusted, she realized she was seeing a form taking shape, something that shouldn't exist in three-dimensional space. The entity that materialized was neither male nor female, yet somehow both. Its form shifted like quicksilver, settling into a vaguely humanoid shape that stood nearly 7 feet tall. Its skin had the iridescent quality of soap bubbles, and its eyes. Sarah found herself unable to look directly at them, as if they existed in more dimensions than her brain could process. Dr. Sarah Chen, the entity spoke, its voice resonating not through the air, but directly in her mind. "Your experiment has not failed. It has succeeded beyond your species' current capacity to understand." Sarah's scientific training warred with the impossible reality before her. She grabbed her tablet, fingers trembling as she documented readings that defied every known law of physics. "What? Who are you?" "I am Mira," the entity replied. "In your terms, I am a custodian of knowledge, though that description is woefully inadequate. Your experiment created a quantum bridge to realms your mathematics has only begun to theorize about." Sarah forced herself to breathe slowly, methodically. "Are you suggesting you're from another dimension?" "I exist in several dimensions simultaneously," Mira corrected. "Your species' greatest minds have glimpsed the edges of this truth. Einstein, Bohr, Hawking. But you, Dr. Chen, have done something unprecedented. You have created a stable contact point." The implications made Sarah's head spin. "Why are you here?" "Because you are ready." Mira's form shifted, patterns of light rippling across its surface. "Or rather, you have the potential to be ready. I'm authorized to offer you 3 opportunities to expand human understanding. 3 gifts of knowledge, but each comes with a price, and each will change your species in ways you cannot fully predict." Sarah's scientific skepticism finally found its voice. "That sounds suspiciously like a fairy tale. 3 wishes, really?" "Your mythology often reflects deeper truths," Mira responded, amusement coloring its mental voice. "But this is no wish fulfillment. I offer knowledge, true understanding of cosmic principles. Each gift will advance human comprehension by centuries, perhaps millennia. But knowledge, once gained, cannot be unknown. Your species will have to live with the consequences." Sarah's mind raced with possibilities. "What kind of knowledge?" "That is your choice. But choose carefully. The first gift often determines the path of all that follow. Mira's form seemed to solidify slightly. You have 72 of your hours to consider your first choice. I will return then. Wait, Sarah called out as Mira's form began to fade. How do I know this is real? How do I know you're not just some hallucination from too many late nights in the lab? Mira's response echoed in her mind as the entity disappeared. You don't. But isn't that true of all great scientific discoveries? The truth reveals itself in the testing. Sarah stood alone in her lab, the quantum device now cold and silent. Her tablet continued recording readings that would keep theoretical physicists busy for decades. As the first light of dawn crept through the lab's windows, she began to laugh, a slightly hysterical sound that echoed off the sterile walls. 72 hours to decide how to change the course of human history. No pressure at all. She reached for her phone, then stopped. Who could she possibly tell? How could she prove any of this had happened? The readings on her tablet could be equipment malfunction. She had no video evidence. The security cameras had gone dark during the event. Perfect plausible deniability. Sarah ran her fingers through her disheveled black hair and made her first decision. She would handle this alone, at least until she understood more. After all, wasn't that the scientific method? Observe, hypothesize, test. She had 71 hours and 43 minutes to determine humanity's next evolutionary step. The biggest question wasn't what knowledge to ask for. It was whether humanity was ready for any knowledge at all. Sarah spent the next 3 days in a state of controlled chaos. Her apartment walls had become a maze of equations, theoretical models, and possible consequences, all connected by a web of red string that made her living room look like a conspiracy theorist's dream. Coffee cups littered every surface, and her laptop remained open to dozens of tabs ranging from quantum physics to ancient mythology. She called in sick to the lab, claiming food poisoning. Her colleagues will understand. She'd pulled enough all-nighters that no one questioned her occasional disappearances. But this was different. This time, she wasn't just pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. She was preparing to shatter them completely. Think systematically, she muttered, pacing the length of her apartment. The real question wasn't what knowledge to ask for. It was what knowledge humanity could handle. Physics, biology, psychology. Each field held potential disasters alongside its promises. At exactly 3:47 a.m., right on schedule, the air folded again. Mira's iridescent form materialized in her living room, casting prismatic patterns across her walls of notes. Your living space has become quite interesting, Mira observed, its mental voice carrying a hint of amusement. Sarah gestured at her chaos wall. I've been trying to map out potential consequences. Everything connects to everything else. Change our understanding of quantum mechanics. We might gain unlimited energy or create weapons that could destroy reality itself. Unlock the secrets of consciousness. We could achieve enlightenment or drive ourselves mad with cosmic awareness. You understand the weight of this choice better than most would, Mira noted. Have you reached a decision? Sarah took a deep breath. Yes, but first I need to know something. Why are you really doing this? What does your civilization, for lack of a better word, get out of humanity's advancement? Mira's form shifted, patterns swirling more rapidly. An intelligent question. We are custodians, as I said, but we are also students. Every species that achieves consciousness does so in unique ways. Your humanity, with all its contradictions and resilience, particularly interests us. We're an experiment. You are an opportunity. Your species has something rare, the ability to face the impossible and adapt. Most species, when confronted with knowledge beyond their understanding, either reject it or are destroyed by it. Humans take it and make it their own. Sarah walked to her window, looking out over the city lights. Then I know what knowledge to ask for. She turned back to Mira. I want understanding of neural plasticity, not just human brains, but the fundamental principles of how consciousness adapts to new information. If we're going to receive world-changing knowledge, we need to understand how to integrate it without breaking ourselves. For the first time, Mira showed something like surprise. Its form flickered momentarily. Interesting. Most choose knowledge that changes their external world. You choose to understand the internal. The most important adaptations happen in the mind, Sarah replied. Give humanity better tools for understanding itself, and we'll be better prepared for whatever comes next. Very well. Mira moved closer, its form becoming more defined. But remember, this knowledge comes with a price. Understanding consciousness means understanding pain as well as joy, trauma as well as healing. Are you prepared for humanity to face its own depths? Sarah squared her shoulders. We're already facing them. We might as well understand what we're looking at. Then receive your first gift. The sensation was indescribable. Information flooded Sarah's mind, not in words or images, but in pure understanding. She saw consciousness as an emergent pattern, beautiful in its complexity. She understood how thoughts formed, how memories were stored, how trauma created shadows in the mind, and how healing could bring light to those shadows. The knowledge settled into her awareness like water filling cracks in earth, expanding and connecting everything she'd ever learned about the human mind. When the transfer ended, Sarah found herself on her knees, tears streaming down her face. This changes everything, she whispered. Yes, Mira agreed. Already your own neural patterns are adapting to integrate this knowledge. Soon you will be able to share it with others. But remember, understanding does not always bring peace. Some truths are difficult to face. Sarah wiped her eyes, her mind already racing with implications. How long until the changes become noticeable? That depends on how quickly you share this knowledge and how others receive it. But be warned, the second gift will build upon the first. Choose carefully when I return. As Mira began to fade, Sarah called out, Wait, when will that be? When humanity has begun to truly integrate this first gift, it could be days or years. The timeline depends on you. Sarah was alone again, but her apartment felt different. Everything felt different. She could feel her own consciousness adapting, restructuring itself to accommodate knowledge that no human had ever possessed. On her wall, the web of consequences seemed to pulse with new meaning. She reached for her laptop, then stopped. How does one begin to translate cosmic understanding into human language? How does one teach others to see the mind itself? The sun was rising over the city, painting the sky in shades of promise and warning. Sarah Chen, quantum physicist turned consciousness pioneer, began to write. The first gift had been given. Humanity's evolution had begun. 1 year had passed since Sarah's first encounter with Mira, and the world had begun to transform in subtle but profound ways. Her initial papers on advanced neural integration theory had sparked a revolution in neuroscience and psychology. What began as academic research quickly evolved into practical applications that spread across the globe. Sarah stood at the window of her new office at the Global Consciousness Institute, watching students practice meditation in the courtyard below. They weren't just meditating, they were actively rewiring their neural pathways, using techniques that would have seemed impossible a year ago. The knowledge Mira had given her had revolutionized humanity's understanding of the mind, but as predicted, the changes weren't all easy to accept. Her tablet displayed the morning's headlines. Neural integration therapy shows 90% success rate in PTSD treatment. Consciousness enhancement techniques spark ethical debates. Global Mental Health Initiative faces religious backlash. Some celebrated the advances, others feared them. Both reactions were predictable, given what she now understood about human consciousness. Dr. Chen, her assistant's voice came through the intercom. The UN Secretary-General is on line 1. Again. Sarah sighed. Tell her I'll return her call after the afternoon session. Political pressures had been mounting as governments realized the implications of consciousness-aware populations. People who understood their own minds were harder to manipulate, harder to control. The air shifted behind her, and she knew before turning that Mira had returned. The entity's iridescent form seemed more solid than before, as if humanity's growing understanding had made it easier to perceive. Your species adapts quickly, Mira observed, studying the students below. Perhaps too quickly. We had to, Sarah replied. Once people understood how their minds worked, they couldn't go back to ignorance, though some have tried. That is why we chose you, Mira said. You understood that knowledge, once given, must be managed carefully. You've helped create systems to integrate understanding rather than simply releasing it into the world. Sarah turned from the window. But it's not enough, is it? This first gift, understanding consciousness, it's revealed how much we still don't know. About ourselves, about reality, about everything. Which brings us to your second choice. Mira's form rippled with complex patterns. What knowledge will you seek now? Sarah walked to her desk, where a holographic display showed global neural activity patterns, a technology developed from her enhanced understanding of consciousness. I've been thinking about this since you left. The first gift showed us how our minds work. Now we need to understand what we're connected to. Clarify, Mira prompted, though something in its tone suggested it already knew what she meant. I want to understand the quantum nature of consciousness, not just how our minds work, but how they interact with reality itself, the unified field theory of awareness. Sarah's voice grew more passionate. We've seen hints of it already. As people have learned to understand their minds, they've started experiencing things we can't explain. Synchronicities, shared dreams, moments of impossible knowing. You seek dangerous knowledge, Mira warned. Understanding consciousness as a quantum phenomenon would fundamentally alter your species' perception of reality. We're already altering it, Sarah countered, but we're doing it blindly. People are awakening abilities they don't understand. We need to know what we're becoming. Mira was silent for a long moment, its form shifting through colors that human eyes were never meant to see. Your reasoning is sound, but consider carefully. The first gift showed humanity its own mind. This gift would show humanity its place in the cosmos. Many species have broken under such knowledge. Sarah gestured at the students below. Look at them. A year ago, the techniques they're using would have seemed like science fiction, but they adapted. They learned, they grew. She turned back to Mira. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our intelligence, it's our ability to face the impossible and keep going. Then you have made your choice. Yes. Sarah straightened her spine. Show us how consciousness connects to the quantum realm. Show us what we really are. Very well. Mira moved closer. But remember, this knowledge will change more than understanding. It will change reality itself, as perceived by human consciousness. There will be no turning back. There never is, Sarah said softly, not with real knowledge. The transfer began, and Sarah's world exploded into infinite dimensions of understanding. She saw consciousness not as isolated within human brains, but as a fundamental force of the universe, like gravity or electromagnetism. She understood how thoughts ripple through quantum fields, how awareness could bridge space and time, how human consciousness was both individual and infinitely connected. When the knowledge settled, Sarah found herself on the floor of her office, gasping. The world looked different now. She could see the quantum threads connecting everything, the way consciousness wove through reality like light through a prism. The integration will be more difficult this time, Mira said, its form now clearly visible in multiple dimensions. This knowledge touches the deepest foundations of reality. Sarah struggled to her feet, her mind reeling with implications. How do I even begin to translate this into human terms? That is your challenge to solve, but be warned, the third gift will come when humanity has either mastered this knowledge or been mastered by it. As Mira faded from view, Sarah looked out at the students again. They had stopped their practice, all of them staring upward, as if sensing the change in the world's fundamental nature. In her mind, she could feel the first ripples of their connected awareness, the beginning of something both wonderful and terrifying. Humanity had asked to see its place in the cosmos. Now they had to learn to live with what they saw. 5 years had passed since the second gift, and humanity stood at a crossroads that no one, not even Sarah, could have fully predicted. The understanding of quantum consciousness had transformed society in ways that defied conventional explanation. The Global Consciousness Institute had grown into a sprawling complex of research centers and meditation halls, its architecture reflecting humanity's new understanding of reality. Buildings that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously, corridors that followed the natural flow of quantum probability rather than linear space. Sarah walked through one such corridor, her consciousness automatically adjusting to the quantum fluctuations around her. She no longer needed the neural monitoring devices that lined the walls. Like most humans now, she could directly perceive the quantum field of consciousness that connected all things. Dr. Chen, a voice called out, both audibly and through the quantum field. Dr. James Martinez, head chief of research, approached with an urgent expression. The global consciousness readings are off the charts. We're seeing coherence patterns that shouldn't be possible yet. Show me, Sarah said, following him to the monitoring center. The holographic display showed Earth wrapped in a web of light, a visualization of human consciousness becoming increasingly entangled at the quantum level. What had started as isolated incidents of telepathy and shared consciousness had evolved into something far more profound. 93% of the population is now showing some degree of quantum awareness, James reported. The collective consciousness is approaching critical mass. Sarah studied the patterns, understanding their implications at a level that would have been impossible before Mira's gifts. Humanity wasn't just changing, it was approaching a transformation point. The question was, transformation into what? The air shifted, and Sarah knew without turning that Mira had returned. The entity's presence was now clearly visible to everyone in the room, its multidimensional form no longer hidden by human perceptual limitations. Your species continues to surprise us, Mira said, its thoughts resonating through the quantum field. You've integrated the knowledge far more quickly than anticipated. We had to, Sarah replied, gesturing to the global display. Once people could see the connections, they couldn't stop seeing them. Consciousness wants to evolve. Which brings us to the final gift. Mira's form shifted through impossible geometries. But first, you must understand what you set in motion. The monitoring center's walls seemed to dissolve, showing Sarah visions of possible futures. In one, humanity transcended physical form entirely, becoming beings of pure consciousness. In another, they remained physical but achieved perfect harmony through their quantum connection. In a third, the species fractured, some embracing evolution while others rejected it violently. The third gift will determine which path becomes reality, Mira explained. Choose carefully. Sarah felt the weight of 8 billion minds pressing against her consciousness, their collective hopes and fears impossible to ignore. What are my options? You could ask for control, the ability to guide humanity's transformation safely, or for separation, the power to isolate those who wish to remain unchanged. Or, Mira paused, its form pulsing with intense energy, you could ask for the ultimate truth about consciousness itself. And what happens if I choose truth? Sarah asked, though part of her already knew. Your species would understand its true nature and purpose in the cosmos. But such knowledge, Mira's form flickered, even we don't fully understand the consequences. Sarah closed her eyes, feeling the quantum web of human consciousness surrounding her. She could sense their potential, their fear, their determination. Humanity stood on the brink of becoming something new, something unprecedented. Show me, she said suddenly, opening her eyes. Show me what the others chose, the other species you've tested like this. For the first time, Mira showed something like respect. None have asked that question before making their final choice. The visions came rapidly. Civilizations that chose control and stagnated, species that chose separation and fractured, races that chose truth and... Sarah gasped as she saw the pattern. They all transformed, didn't they? No matter what they chose. The only difference was how they faced it. Yes, Mira acknowledged. Evolution cannot be stopped, only shaped. Sarah turned to the global display, watching the web of consciousness pulse with humanity's collective potential. Then I know what I need to ask for. The room fell silent, even the quantum field seeming to hold its breath. The next words would determine humanity's path through the greatest transformation in its history. And Sarah Chen, who had started this journey seeking simple scientific knowledge, prepared to make the choice that would reshape what it meant to be human. I choose humanity, Sarah said, her voice resonating through both physical space and the quantum field. Mira's form flickered with apparent confusion. That is not one of the offered choices. No, it's better. Sarah stepped forward, her consciousness fully expanded into the quantum realm. I don't want control, because that would limit what we could become. I don't want separation, because our strength lies in our unity. And I don't want the ultimate truth handed to us, because that's not how humans work. She gestured at the global consciousness display. Look at what we did with the first two gifts. We didn't just accept the knowledge, we transformed it, adapted it, made it our own. That's what makes humans different, isn't it? That's why you chose us. The quantum field around them pulsed with increasing intensity as billions of connected minds focused on this moment, conscious or unconscious of its importance. My third choice is this. I want the knowledge of how to seek truth for ourselves. Not the answers, but the true method of finding them. Show us how to explore consciousness safely, how to evolve intentionally, how to discover without destroying ourselves. Mira's form expanded, filling the room with shifting patterns of light and possibility. In all our tests across thousands of species and millions of years, none have ever made this choice. Because they were all trying to become something else, Sarah realized aloud. We don't need to become something else. We need to become more fully what we already are, explorers, adapters, transformers of knowledge into wisdom. The quantum field rippled with what felt like laughter, not just from Mira, but from somewhere far beyond. And that, Mira said, was the real test. The room shifted, reality folding in on itself until they stood in what seemed to be a vast chamber of living light. Countless beings like Mira, yet different, surrounded them. Humanity has surpassed all expectations, Mira announced to the assembly. They have proven themselves not just worthy of advancement, but worthy of partnership. Partnership? Sarah asked, even as her enhanced consciousness began to grasp the truth. We are not teachers, Dr. Chen. We are seekers, like yourself, part of a cosmic network of species, all working to understand the ultimate nature of consciousness and reality. We offer the tests not to judge, but to find equals. The full implications hit Sarah like a wave. All this time, you weren't testing if we were ready for knowledge. You were testing if we were ready to help create it. Precisely. Mira's form stabilized into something more definitively human-like. Your species has something unique, the ability to take knowledge and transform it into something new. Other species either accept truth or reject it. Humans make it evolve. The chamber filled with images of human achievement, not just the scientific and technological, but the artistic, the philosophical, the spiritual. Each discovery, each innovation, each new way of seeing reality had added something to the cosmic understanding of consciousness itself. Your third gift, Mira said, is not knowledge at all. It is a place among us, humanity's seat at the table of cosmic exploration. You will keep your physical form, your individual nature, all that makes you human. But you will also have access to the collected wisdom of all seeking species, and they will have access to your unique way of transforming knowledge. Sarah felt the weight of this revelation ripple through the quantum field, touching every human mind. We're not just becoming more conscious, we're becoming teachers ourselves. Yes, your species will help guide others, even as you continue your own evolution. This is the true transformation, Not an ending, but a beginning. As the chamber began to fade, returning them to the monitoring center, Sarah felt a new connection forming in the quantum field, humanity linking not just with itself, but with a vast network of conscious beings throughout the cosmos. They were becoming part of something larger, while remaining uniquely themselves. The global consciousness display now showed not just Earth, but countless points of light stretching into infinity, other worlds, other species, all connected in the great dance of evolution and discovery. Dr. Sarah Chen, who had started this journey alone in a quantum physics lab, stood at the center of humanity's greatest transformation. But it wasn't an ending. It wasn't even really a change. It was humanity becoming more fully itself, curious, adaptable, transformative, ready to face not just 3 gifts of knowledge, but an infinity of questions, mysteries, and possibilities. And somewhere in the quantum field, billions of human minds began to glimpse their true potential, not as beings to be elevated, but as partners in the greatest exploration of all, the eternal quest to understand consciousness itself. The price of wisdom, it turned out, wasn't change at all. It was becoming who they were always meant to be. End.